Hey everybody, I'd like to welcome you into the Mountain Biking Firefighter kitchen. Today I'm going to be making a pretty easy soup, one of my favorites. It's the steak and ale soup. I got this recipe from Ashley and Jeremy. So here we go. We'll start off with about 2 pounds of beef. I like to use sirloin, something a little lean, a lean cut. So all we're going to do is throw that in our Instapot and get it to browning. Going to add about a tablespoon of butter to get it coated in the bottom. If you don't have an Instapot, you can use just a regular big pot on the stove and it works just as well. You just have to be careful with your cut of meat. Sometimes the tougher cuts, you have to cook longer. And in Instapot, it's like a pressure cooker. So it tenderizes as you're cooking and it makes it all pretty easy. So all we're gonna do is just brown the outside. We're not cooking the meat all the way through. All we're doing is getting it nice and brown, caramelizing the outside just a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper to the meat. I like to use big coarse ground pepper whenever I'm cooking certain soups because I like to bite into the pepper. I like that flavor that you get sometimes. That strong pepper flavor, so I've always been a big fan of pepper. I love it, so that's that. While that's browning, I'm going to go ahead and start cutting up a couple of ingredients. I got some onions, about 100 grams or 1 medium onion. I like to use a sweet onion. I'm going to cut it up into thin slices. Careful not to cut yourself. I'm not as versed with the knives as some chefs. I'm actually not a chef at all. I just enjoy cooking. Cooking is something that I've always loved doing. It's something that is almost therapeutic for me. I actually thought about going to culinary school and becoming a chef, but the idea of spending all my nights and weekends cooking didn't appeal to me that much, and I was afraid that it would take the joy that I get from cooking, it would take it away, and I wouldn't enjoy it as much. So I decided to pursue other career choices. I kind of did the same thing with music. For years I played in bands and we were playing a lot of weekends and a lot of nights, and that's kind of what got me to stop playing music here in the past couple of years. I haven't played like I used to, but it's just one of those things where I'll get back into it and I'll enjoy it again. But for now, I'm enjoying other things like being healthy, cooking, exercising. So now we're moving on. I've got some button mushrooms. We're going to use about a pound of, the recipe calls for white button mushrooms, but I like to use portobello mushrooms. I like the flavor profile of the portobello a little better. So, and they're a little meatier. Just about ready, just about ready for that meat to come out. So, just about ready for that meat to come out of the pot, and then we're going to throw our vegetables in there. Like I said, with the meat, we aren't cooking it all the way through. All we're doing is just getting it nice and brown on the outside. The cooking process will take place once you put the lid on the pressure cooker and get it to seal. I'm going to take this meat out of here for now while we cook our vegetables. I did a few things. I prepped a few items while I was, before I started the video, I prepped a few items to get them ready so I didn't have to do quite as much. So the process would go a little quicker and I wouldn't bore you to death talking about nothing. Good grief, come out of there. All right, meat's out. So now we're gonna add our onions, which is about 100 grams or one medium onion, thin sliced. And we're gonna go ahead and add our mushrooms. Let those cook for just a little bit. I have the Instapot on the saute option right now, and that's what you want to, that'll get all your stuff started. That'll let you work with the lid off and prep all your ingredients before you put the lid on. We're also going to add about 2 tablespoons of fresh minced garlic. This is about 3 cloves. There are a couple things in this recipe that I take a shortcut on, and I use a cream of mushroom soup, a can of cream of mushroom soup, rather than making my own cream of whatever type of soup. And there are ways to do that. It's just a little easier, a little quicker for me just to grab the can and go. I also like to add, and this will change the macros, but I also like to add a little of the beefy onion soup mix to the mix. Another thing that the recipe calls for is a dark beer. I'm all out of dark beer, so I had to settle for some New Belgian Fat Tire. It's an ale, but it'll have to work. All right. So while those vegetables are getting nice and translucent, the onions are getting translucent, getting sweated down here. We'll let it go for just a little longer. I'm also going to have some beef stock that I'm adding in, about 4 cups. And we're just about ready to start adding some of our other ingredients. While this is cooking down, I'm going to go ahead and add a tablespoon of Montreal steak seasoning and a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. I like to use the organic Italian seasoning from Thrive Market. If you don't know about Thrive Market, you should check them out. They have some awesome options for organic food, clean food, and they ship it to your front door. So that's something you should look into if you don't already know about it. Let me tell you about it now. You'll thank me. All right. So we got that going pretty good here. We're going to go ahead and add our cream of mushroom soup. Another place I like to buy a lot of my stuff is Aldi's. I'm a big Aldi's fan. Save some pretty good money there, and they have good quality food. A lot of their meats and a lot of their vegetables are organic and grass-fed, and free-range eggs you can get there. And I didn't talk about the butter. The butter that I'm using in this is Kerrygold butter, which is a butter made from pasture-raised cows. The quality of your ingredients that you use is paramount when it comes to good quality food. I try and find, when it comes to the beef, I'm using about 2 pounds of, like I said, 2 pounds of sirloin steak. When it comes to the meat, I try and find the grass-fed if I can. So I'm going to add the meat here. Get it all mixed together. And then the last couple things we're going to add is our beer. And our beef stock. We'll go ahead and add the whole bottle. About 4 cups. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then I'm going to add just a little bit of the beefy onion soup mix. About half the pack is what I usually use. We're going to get all that mixed together. Make sure I hit everything here. Yep. Now all we're going to do is put the lid on our Instapot. We're going to hit soup. And it's going to start. That's all there is to it. Make sure that when you're using your Instapot that you have it on the sealing, the little thing here on the end that it's in sealing and not venting. If it's in venting, then you won't get your seal and won't get the pressure cooking part of it. So this is going to cook for about an hour and 20 minutes. I can walk away and it'll be good to go. For your macros on this particular recipe, like I said, it'll be a little bit different since I added the beefy onion soup mix. But the macros is 37 grams of protein per serving. This will make about 6 servings. So each serving will have about 37 grams of protein, 17 carbs, and 8 grams of fat, depending on which steak you use or which meat you use when you put in here. And you can search, if you're using MyFitnessPal to track your macros, then you can search MyFitnessPal and search Micro Ed Steak and Ale Soup. And there you go. You'll have it. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen today. I made a mess. I'm good at making a mess, but thank you and hope I see you again soon.